So, Planeswalkers. They are our eyes and ears into the multiverse, for better or for worse. They've also been around since magic has been around, basically. Some of the first Planeswalkers stem all the way back to the Alpha rulebook, of all places. Shout out to all my Thomil and Warzel fans in the audience. Hope you guys are doing alright. And since Planeswalkers have been around for such a long time, there's obviously a lot of them. Much more than you may think. And with some Planeswalkers, I need only say their name, and you can probably either picture them in your head, maybe tell me a little bit about their lore, or at the very least, you could probably tell me which color or colors of mana they're aligned with. For example, Liliana Vess, Jace Beleren. His greatest strength is his greatest flaw, a supremely powerful mind incapable of perceiving how he could rule all, a keystone in an unfathomable plan. I don't know why, but for some reason whenever I say Jace's full name out, I have to follow it with that. It's like a brain virus that I contracted at 13, and there is no cure. Some Planeswalkers, though, despite having a pretty big role to play in the story, have largely been forgotten with the passage of time. And one of those Planeswalkers is the subject of this video, Daria. Now, Daria, despite fighting alongside significant characters like Jared Carthalion and Urza. Why did I say it like that? She doesn't really get talked about, and she doesn't even have her own card. And I'm not talking like she doesn't have a Planeswalker card, she doesn't have a creature card either. The only time Daria has been depicted on her own on a magic card was from a common out of Planeshift known as Aura Blast. It's not a bad card, but I do think it's kind of funny and ironic that the flavor text on it says, "None of your history books mention me," laughed Daria. "They will now." Girl, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you may have been incorrect there. Now, I want to make it known that I'm very much aware that this is not the first time something like this has happened to a Magic character. There are plenty of Magic characters that don't have their own cards. In fact, on the other card Daria is depicted on, Urza Assembles the Titans, there are 2 characters on that card that have nothing. That is the only representation they got. So, I'm well aware, some Planeswalkers have it harder than others. However, this doesn't make this any less of a crime, okay? Daria deserves her own card. Why is it that the dude whose greatest achievements include being too nosy and being killed by Guruk Wildspeaker, why does he get a card? But now my girl Daria. What is up with that? Come on. No hate to Vronos. Vronos is actually a pretty neat character, and the card is interesting. However, Daria still deserves one too. Anyway, despite Daria being, like I've said before, overlooked, I still think she's an interesting character to discuss, and so that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna discuss Daria, Magic the Gathering's forgotten Planeswalker. So Daria's story is mainly told in the Invasion and Planeshift novels, though I want to point out she did have a small part to play in the canceled Planeswalker War comic. Rest in peace to that. I'm sure there was a good reason why it was canceled, but nonetheless, I'm still devastated. I really am. It's okay though, because we kind of sorta got it back. Like, I'm not saying they're the same story. By no means am I saying that, but I also cannot be the only person that saw the parallels between these 2 events. If you know, you know. So not much is really known about Daria's backstory, and that's not an exaggeration. What I can tell you, though, is she's from the plane of Olgrotha, which is the plane that the set Homelands is set on. So her and Joven have the same hometown. I think that's something to brag about, personally. I would brag about it. Do you think she's been to Snarg's House of Sin before? Who hasn't? Who hasn't? Another thing I can tell you about Daria's backstory is that she's an orphan, so we're off to a very happy start. It's not really known how her Planeswalker spark went off either. Like, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm doing a bad job relaying this information to you, but like I said, it's not an exaggeration that we know almost nothing about her life before she was a Planeswalker, or how she even became one. Who knows? It could have been anything. Like, I could make something up. Like, she went to get some sushi and had a bad reaction to the salmon. So, boom. Welcome to the multiverse, Daria. Bet you're thankful for that fish allergy. I can see that happening. You know, wilder stuff has happened. Bolas's spark went off basically because he was jealous of Ugin. That's true. That is the truth. So I can totally believe that someone had a fish allergy, and that is the reason why they became a planeswalker. In Daria's case, though, we don't know. It happened. She became a planeswalker at a young age, and she was an orphan. However, things are not all doom and gloom in Daria's life, because she was eventually adopted by none other than the most powerful planeswalker to ever exist, Taysir of Arabia. I love Dacier so much. This dude is, not even gonna lie, one of my favorite planeswalkers, because he is just so, he's wild. He could be a video all on his own. If you want to see that, leave a comment by all means. I would love to talk about this man, but for now, just know that a young planeswalker like Daria could not ask for a better mentor and adoptive father than Taysir. He's pretty great. He does have his flaws. Oh boy, does he have his flaws. But he's pretty great. And he, Taysir, also taught Daria like everything she knows about being a planeswalker while they lived together in their cozy little cottage near the mountains of Anhava. So where things pick up for Daria is in the invasion novel when Urza shows up at her doorstep, literally. Now he shows up to her home for Taysir because he was going around and recruiting people for his 9 Titans. If you do not know what Urza's 9 Titans was, or what Urza's plan there was, buckle up, bestie, because this is something else. Basically, a Cliff Notes version of Urza's plan is he was going to recruit 9 planeswalkers, which includes himself, obviously. Give them, like, power armor, and go blow up Phyrexia. Done deal. Bye-bye, Yawgmoth. So yeah, file that one under things that have happened in the Magic storyline at one point, and put it right next to a character retconning a story as it was happening, and an Elder Dragon posing under the alias Ham the Trickery Man. Welcome to the world of Magic lore. Glad you could join us. We are having a great time here. So anyway, yeah, that was Urza's plan. So he needed to assemble a group of planeswalkers, and Taysir was on his list. Now, as Urza is speaking with Taysir at the doorway, Daria comes up because she's curious. Who is my father talking to? And she gets into the doorway, sees that it's Urza. Her face drops, and she goes, "Oh, it's you." Appropriate response. Taysir then explains to Urza that he'll join the 9 Titans, but on the stipulation that his daughter, Daria, can also join the 9 Titans. And Urza, understandably so, is a little bit annoyed by this, because it's Urza's group. Like, you can't just choose the members yourself. That's not how this works, Taysir. Come on. It's my group. I pick who's in it. Luckily, there was an opening in the lineup made by Teferi, because Teferi, in the words of Taysir, pulled a Teferi. And by pulling a Teferi, what I mean by that is Teferi, instead of wanting to fight the Phyrexians and save the multiverse, just kind of came to a realization that all of that was a little bit cringe, and he would rather just face himself and Zhalfir, like, out of existence. So that's what he did. Which, if you were reading the most recent Phyrexian invasion story and you wondered why Teferi was going through so much personal turmoil, yeah, that's why. Because the last time this happened, he decided. But, you know, he redeemed himself. Zhalfir's back. Everything's good. Again, maybe. Anyway, yeah. Teferi did all that, so he was obviously out of the group. So Urza reluctantly agreed to let Daria fill that opening. And this was kind of lucky for Urza, because Daria had some connections that would help them recruit the next member, Freyalise. Because, fun fact, Daria and Freyalise are besties. Another fun fact, Urza and Freyalise are not. Freyalise hates Urza. So much so that when Daria takes Taysir and Urza into Freyalise's domain to speak to her, Freyalise just straight up ignores the fact that Urza is there at all in favor of catching up with Daria. And in the midst of them speaking, Urza does one of these. Which catches the attention of Freyalise naturally, and she turns to Urza and she goes, "Oh, it's you." Again, appropriate response. She also, though, follows it up with planning another Ice Age, Urza. Oh, what a queen. What a queen. Urza claps back, but like, bro, who cares? I'll have you know that you made a big spell and it made a big mess too, okay? I'm not the only bad guy here. Okay, cope. So, I want to think that Daria had kind of a role to play in Freyalise agreeing to join the Nine Titans, because if she wasn't there, I don't think Freyalise would really be all that interested in collaborating with Urza in any respect. So there's that. Also, it's from this meeting with Freyalise that another unexpected member is suggested to join Urza's Nine Titans, and that being Christina of the Woods, who was there visiting Freyalise when they all arrived. And Christina wanted to join because obviously Freyalise was there, and Taysir. And Urza agreed, but again, he was a little annoyed because, you know, like I said, this is his group. What do you guys not understand about the name Urza's Nine Titans? Do you know what that means? That means I, being Urza, pick the members, not you guys. What groups have you been a part of where you, as the member, pick the other members? No. This is not called Urza's group, but he doesn't pick the members because he's not really that involved. Everybody else can just sort of pick who they want to be a part of the group. No, it's called Urza's Nine Titans, so I get to pick the Nine Titans. But I guess Christina can join too. So Urza agreed to let Christina of the Woods in the group for 2 reasons, actually. The first one being that there was a dude named Parcher who was gonna be in the Nine Titans, but he was a little too silly goofy for the rest of them, so he was out. And that's literally the reason. I think they said he was too much of a lunatic. So yeah, no, it's not gonna work, Parcher. And if you're wondering like, ooh, who's Parcher? What's his story? I have no idea. He's only ever mentioned in the Invasion novel and never again. The only 2 things we know about this dude are his name is Parcher and he's a lunatic. Which is kind of funny. Another funny thing is, you know, Parcher is too much of a lunatic, but you're gonna let Commodore Guff be a part of this group when that guy is the very definition of silly goofy. But I guess Parcher's brand of silly goofy was a little bit too much for Urza and Freyalise and everybody else, so it's not gonna work, dude. Fade into obscurity, please. Thank you. The second reason Urza supposedly agreed to let Christina of the Woods in the Nine Titans was to spite Taysir. Because if you didn't know, Christina of the Woods is Taysir's ex, and their breakup was beyond messy. That is a story for another video though, but just know Urza's being a little petty. Who's shocked? Like, it's not, you know, it's not like Taysir had malicious intent with wanting Daria to be a part of the group. Like, he just didn't want to leave his daughter home alone and like ditch her to go fight Phyrexia. What if Yawgmoth shows up and she misses the opportunity to get a picture with him? Like, he's actually a pretty chill dude in real life. Like, Urza, be for real right now. Do we need to be this petty when the multiverse is at stake? Are you not better than this? So, yeah, Christina of the Woods is now in. Freyalise is now in my opinion, thanks to Daria. And Daria is now in, and so is Taysir. And I want to take a bit of a second to just kind of talk about Daria's personality and the role she plays in the Nine Titans group. So Daria, if you didn't catch on, is the youngest member of the Nine Titans, so she sort of fills the role of like clever young girl who's super nice but also kind of naive and curious. She doesn't really gel well with everybody in the group. Obviously she doesn't really like Urza all that much, and I mean, like, who does? No, there are some people. There are some people that like him. I just can't think of them. Maybe because they don't exist, but you know. So yeah, but nothing really stands out too much about Daria's personality, which is probably not a shock. Now, in terms of Daria's physical attributes that she brings to the table here, she's very nimble and quick on her feet, and this is incorporated later into her Titan engine, which is what the power armor is called, because her Titan engine is described over and over and over again as being very live, which in my mind evokes imagery of like an EVA unit, which is kind of funny to think about, even though the Titan engines look like this. No offense, but they're a little frumpy, okay? But hey, maybe the other 8 Titan engines looked like that, but just Daria's looked exactly like an EVA unit. So yeah, that's what she's bringing to the table when it comes to being a part of the 9 Titans. Not a whole lot. But again, keep in mind, she was not from the start chosen to be a part of this group, so she's doing her best. So we have the 9 Titans now formed, and the members are as follows. We've got Urza, Daria, Taysir of Arabia, Christina of the Woods, Freyalise, Lord Windgrace, Commodore Guff, Bolivar, and Tevesh Zat. Tevesh Zat was a very controversial include to the lineup, to say the very least. A lot of you who don't really keep up with the lore may know Tevesh Zat more from his card, and you may also know how stinky and evil his card is. Just know that that is a pretty accurate representation of who he is as a character. Tevesh Zat is evil. You need to know no more about him at all, really. Just take a look at him. He looks evil, and he is. And the best part is, like, he's not hiding it either. He's not like, oh, like, no, I was just having a bad day. No, he's like, yeah, I'm evil. I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad dude. And so everybody was wondering, hey, Urza, why are you including this guy who is very clearly, obviously bad and evil and stinky and mean? Why is he in the group? And Urza was like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, he knows his way around, so it'll be fine. What? Like, the major reasoning for including Tevesh Zat was because, quote-unquote, he had dealings with Phyrexia, so he knew his way around the plane. Which is so suspicious. What is going on here? It's like you're putting together a group of crime-fighting do-gooders, but also Jeffrey Dahmer is in the group. And it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it. And everybody was. But nonetheless, Urza's vision cannot be compromised here. So Tevesh Zat is in the group, but keep everything I just said in the back of your head as we move into the events of the Planeshift novel. So, it is in Planeshift where the 9 Titans go to take the fight to Phyrexia, and Daria, specifically, is tasked with going down to the 3rd sphere and planting a bomb. That's kind of what all of them were doing, were planting bombs, because like I said, the modus operandi here, blow up Phyrexia. So, she goes down to the 3rd sphere, and if you are unfamiliar with the 3rd sphere of OG Phyrexia was comprised entirely of a complex network of pipes that in some spots created spatial distortions that conveniently made it impossible to planeswalk. Weird. I wonder if that's gonna come into play later. Another thing about the 3rd sphere is that since it's just entirely a huge network of pipes, it's also very compact, and so Daria was not able to take her power armor down there and had to discard it. But Daria is still nonetheless prepared, and I'm gonna take the opportunity now to tell you about her magical abilities. Which, okay, I'm gonna be very honest, we don't know a whole lot about that either. It's never spelled out. It's not like she's a green mage and she makes plants talk. No, we're just kind of assuming what she does based on context. I mean, we can assume she probably uses white mana and can destroy enchantments based off of Aura Blast, but Daria also utilizes a unique form of carapace armor. Now, if you don't know what a carapace is, like in real life, think of a turtle shell. That's essentially what a carapace is. Now, in Magic, it's described as a type of living armor that will take its life to save yours. Which is kind of messed up.
An enchanting card, in my opinion.
In Daria's case, she kind of uses it in the way it's used in nature. So, for example, when she gets down to the 3rd sphere and things are getting a little bit unbearable for her, her hair forms into a little helmet and her skin hardens into like almost like a shell-like material. Like she can just make her own body into armor. And that's Daria's unique ability that she has. But anyway, yeah, so Daria forms her own armor with her magic and she maneuvers around that way. With a bomb strapped to her back, by the way, and she plants the bomb. Now, as she goes to turn and leave, she notices she's being pursued by what she thinks is a dragon engine. And she decides that, well, I did what I came to do, so it looks like this is gonna be a fight. And I want to read you an excerpt of how she modifies her armor to prepare for a fight. Daria set her feet in a crouch. She extended her left arm. Her sleeve grew into a long, thick shield. Lifting her right arm, she formed the air around into a blazing sword. The helmet on her head grew a gleaming visor. She was ready. That is so cool. When the visor is mentioned, I imagine she just looks like a Power Ranger, which just makes this even better. But anyway, she was ready. So she fights this dragon engine and eventually lands a killing blow by stabbing it through the heart, and that was it, right? Wrong, because the dragon engine, quote unquote, gets up, pulls the sword out of its heart, and heals the wound instantly. And it is then that Daria realizes, uh-oh, that's not a dragon engine. That's Tevesh Zat. Whoa, who knew? Oh my god. Despite not being too shocked by this revelation, Daria nonetheless inquires, what Tevesh Zat is doing. Because, I don't know if he got the message, but, they're there to fight the Phyrexians, not fight each other. Maybe he's confused. I don't know. Tevesh Zat responds with, I'm here to do what I did to Christina of the Woods. So I guess he killed Christina of the Woods, and he's also gonna kill Daria. Now, as I'm sure most of you would be, Daria wasn't on board with this plan. But she was in a bit of a pickle because, as established before, literally stabbing this dude through the heart isn't gonna get her any results. And there's spatial distortions. She cannot planeswalk away. So the only thing left to do is run away. So Daria ignites the oil around her and tries to use the flames created to drive Tevesh Zat back so she can run in the other direction. And as she starts to do that, she miscalculated just how ballsy Tevesh Zat really is. Because he just lunges forward, mouth agape, and his teeth pierce through her head and neck and chest and severs, her top half of her body. And he just swoops his claws down and grabs the other half of her body and flies off with his meal. So she dies. If you were wondering, she doesn't survive that. Daria's down. Daria's down. I'm not shocked, but it just sucks. It just really sucks. And also, I guess he didn't have a reason to kill Christina or Daria. He was just doing it for, fun, I guess. And he didn't think anyone was gonna notice either. Was he gonna get back to the group and they were gonna be like, oh, a large majority of us are dead? That's weird. And was Tevesh Zat just gonna be like, oh yeah, well, we're in Phyrexia, so when in Rome. What is his plan here? That may be the end of Daria's life, but it's not necessarily the end of her story because her death has a lot more significance than at first you may think. So from here, I am going to read you verbatim the scene in which Urza explains the relevance of Daria and Christina's death, mainly because I think if I tried to explain it to you, you wouldn't believe me, and you wouldn't believe Urza has the audacity to speak the way he does. You just gotta know. Guys, I don't want to do this a disservice because it's so insane. So here we go. Did you plant the bombs? Urza asked. Yes, they are set. Mine too, offered Zat quietly. That leaves only my daughter, Taysir said. Oh, she won't be coming, said Urza casually. She's dead. What? Chorused Taysir and Freyles. Urza's Titan engine began to pace with the same demeanor the man had used in Talarian lecture halls. There has been a lot of talk lately about who has underestimated whom. What does any of this have to do with Daria? Taysir demanded. Where is she? This part gets me every time. The hand of Urza's Titan engine rose. Let me finish. It has been said that I have underestimated our foe. This is not possible. I have spent 4,000 years preparing for this battle. It's been said that I underestimated Tevesh Zat, that he is untrustworthy and evil. This is also impossible. I constructed these engines with Zat in mind. In fact, the one person in this group who is chronically underestimated is me. Urza, I can't. Zat hissed. What does any of this have to do with Daria? Simply that you killed her and I knew you would, and I now exact your punishment." Instead of responding, Zot only hung there within his engine. Taysir shouted, "What is going on?" "He's dying," Urza replied simply. "I've initiated the kill rubric." Kill rubric? At my command, 10,000 metal fibers emerged from his piloting harness to pierce his flesh. Minute lightnings passed through each of these, creating a local and general paralysis. He cannot move or feel, act, or think. He's in a kind of suspension. Taysir stared in amazement into the piloting bulb of Sat's engine. The dragon hung limply within the harness. "So you've incapacitated him. You'll punish him. But what about Daria? You said you knew this was gonna happen. So why did you let it happen? Why did you let him kill Christina and Daria?" "Oh, I didn't know he would kill any of us. Only that he would betray us. And I had to allow him to betray us so that I could exact punishment. And I had to exact punishment because it was the only way to charge my most powerful weapons." "Have you gone mad?" Freyalise demanded. So to translate all of that, Urza wanted to use something called a soul bomb. And a soul bomb needs to have a potent and powerful enough soul to give it enough charge to do the bomb thing. You know, the exploding thing that bombs do. But he got into a fight with Baron because Baron basically said, "Okay, hey, yeah, you have a bomb that needs a soul to be ignited, but you're never gonna have like a justified enough reason to take an innocent life and use that life force to make this bomb work." And Urza was like, "Okay, I'll never have a justification to do that to someone? All right, bet." And then we got this situation. Urza let Tevesh Sat into the group on purpose, knowing he was going to do some sort of thing, and then he would use whatever thing he decided to do as justification to kill him and use his life force to charge a bomb up. Daria did not have to die. Like, Urza didn't know that Tevesh Sat was gonna kill people, but he knew it was in his wheelhouse, and he definitely had the capacity to do it. And then when he found out that he did, he just didn't care. He just didn't care. He was like, "Oh, yeah, he killed Daria." Anyway, can we talk about me for a second? Can we talk about my brilliant plan for a second? Urza bad. Urza very bad. It's with that event that we can officially close the book on the story of Daria. Because that's all there is to tell. In the end, Daria was just a means to an end. And that is so tragic. Because I think she had a lot of potential. She was very interesting. I like the whole carapace thing that she was able to do. I think besides Sandrew, she's the only other planeswalker from Olgrotha. Oh no, Grandmother Sengir technically is another one, but she lost her spark, so I'm not gonna count her anymore. And Sandrew, like I said, but we don't know what happened to Sandrew either. Gosh, planeswalkers from Olgrotha, they just doomed to fail, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, that was the story of Daria. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you also enjoyed the extra info about Urza's 9 Titans. If you want to see a video on Taysir of Arabia, again, leave a comment, let me know. Other places you can find me, Twitter, well, I guess it's called X now, and TikTok, which is probably where you know me from already. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.